Hi, I'm Paul.
I'm Lauren.
And we are Pretty Gritty Campers. And the wind is crazy here.
It is blowing.
And it has been blowing very hard for like 3 days straight. So if we're a little distracted and groggy, that's why. If you hear rain and it sounds like we're like
in an AC unit, car wash.
It's actually just one of the Great Lakes, really. Yeah. Blowing like crazy outside our camper. So
cray.
Yeah, all to say, with that crazy wind, we are talking about Wind Cave today.
Ooh, nice transition.
Thank you. And our time there. Now, we've been trying to decide what format to do for our videos, and this is what we have come to.
We are here to inspire you to see the national parks.
Yeah, we want you. It's enough to give you a taste so that you go, I want to do that myself. Not so that it's like this full-on view of everything.
Like,
wow. A little bit of tips and tricks. Not really tricks.
We could do a magic show.
Tips of the what to do.
Yeah, what we did, what we enjoyed, what we didn't. Maybe some stories that we have.
Yeah.
But again, just here to inspire you to go out, see it for yourselves, and we don't want to ruin the magic for you. Please let us know if you enjoy this style that we are attempting to do. I'll say we're going to 49 national parks. So if you are near a national park and you think there's something that we need to see at that national park, please leave a comment, because we love talking to people that actually live near the national parks. People are very passionate about where they live and what they have experienced. Yeah. So if you have something awesome that we need to experience, we are at the very beginning of our trip for the next 2 years, please leave us a comment.
Wind Cave, really what it's known for is its cave.
And the wind.
That's why. The wind that comes forth from the cave.
Ooh.
It, that's the whole reason that it became a national park in the first place. And when you're on the outside of the cave, don't get me wrong, it's cool. We will talk about that later, but that's not its forte. Its forte is the caves. Outside of that, it's also known for a lot of Native American culture. The Lakota people lived there long before any colonizers discovered it.
And it's cool because they do have some information about the Lakota people. They have the emergence story. You can actually link that below in the description. One of the rangers is a part of the Lakota tribe, or shares that emergent story, which is really cool.
Which is the story of
the Lakota tribe
came
to be on Earth
through the Wind Cave.
Well,
right?
Kind of.
It involves heavily the cave. Okay, yeah, don't want to ruin anything here.
But
watch it.
Yeah, you have to watch it, or when you go to Wind Cave, they have a written oral story.
But it's a great video to watch before you go, because then you can kind of have that experience. One thing that I learned through Wind Cave is the more, at least, information that you have, like backstory, history, the more the park will come to life. Yeah, it is known for the cave, it's known for Native American history, and then it's known for, outside of the cave, its environment, I am assuming I will say Ponderosa Pine.
Is that what you were going to say?
I was going to say prairie first.
Oh, man.
But you went like this, and I decided
I'm glad you understood the shape.
You will see signs about the Ponderosa Pine everywhere, and it's not just because they are tree huggers.
They might be.
Term? Environmentalists?
I don't know. They could be. They probably are. It's a national park. They probably got environmentalists.
Yeah.
House
thing, right? What? We're going to move on. It's known for the Ponderosa Pine because part of the Black Hills work their way into the park. And so you get the Black Hills. The reason they're called the Black Hills is because you have those really dark green pines known as the Ponderosa Pines. So Wind Cave celebrates it. They also have prairie. The main loop of the park is prairie. And so that's cool to see. And with the prairie comes prairie animals and wildlife, of course.
Especially prairie dogs.
And bison.
But I call them prairie squirrels. I mean, really, they're not dogs at all.
They
don't
in
bark.
the squirrel family.
Yeah, whoever named prairie dogs needs to be fired.
Name them prairie dogs because of the sound they make. To me, they sound like squirrels or birds. It's chirping. It doesn't sound like barking to me, unless it's like one of those little dogs. You know, those like little ones that like... prairie dogs and bison. There was a bison, which, if you're confused, buffalo are actually technically bison. Buffalo live in like Africa and Asia, and they're called American bison. But I'm going to use the terms interchangeably because everybody does. And so...
Why not just jump off the cliff with everybody else?
Yeah. So, American bison. There was one literally at the front gate as we arrived.
Yeah,
so
Fred.
that was pretty cool to see. So you get to... What?
I said, yeah, Fred.
Fred. Okay. And we saw a lot of other bison as well. Lots of herds. And the prairie environment makes it so that it's pretty hard to miss. So if you want to for sure see American bison, Wind Cave is a little bit smaller than some of the other parks that have them, and it's a little bit more flat, so you will for sure see bison there. It would be very surprising if you didn't. It's also cool to see them kind of intermingle with the other prairie animals. Pronghorn antelope.
Pronghorn antelope.
And mule deer, and even down to the prairie dogs. They were all just hanging out together.
Yeah, even a coyote among the prairie dogs.
He wasn't hanging out with them. He was looking for a meal.
He was hanging.
Which made it cool. It was kind of strange because you saw prairie dogs, bison, pronghorn antelope, all the things I just said, and you don't see those animals everywhere. It's just in very specific parts of the country. And out of all of that, my favorite was the coyote, which I've seen coyotes are everywhere. They're just like scroungy little dogs hiding in the shadows.
Like America's hyenas.
Coyotes are everywhere, but the coolest thing that, in my opinion, that we saw was a coyote because he was going around lurking through a prairie dog town looking for a meal, and it was just cool to see his little darty eyes.
And then we rolled down the window, and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't doing a thing."
And he, snuck away.
Ran away, pounced away.
Right. So on that day, we became heroes, and the prairie dogs still speak of our truck.
They praised us
as a legend.
They praised us as we drove away. Which actually means they were terrified of us.
So plenty of cool wildlife to see.
We did kind of wander off into the Black Hills as well, which we saw a lot of bighorn sheep.
And that was like moving into CUSTER, where we saw them. And so if you don't know, CUSTER State Park is just north of Wind Cave, and the boundaries go right up to each other. So right as you leave Wind Cave, you are into CUSTER. While we're talking about that, we can talk about the potential stays. There are a few places that you can camp. Any national park is going to have private campgrounds littered around. Now, those are usually a little more expensive, and they're not usually as isolated, in my experience. We went in the early spring, and so we considered CUSTER. Now, CUSTER is up in all of the Black Hills, and so a lot of those campgrounds were closed, or they didn't offer electric hookup. And so if you are staying at the same time of year we did, or if you are looking for electric hookup, where we stayed was Angostura State Park, which was about 30 minutes south of Wind Cave. It was a pretty cool park, actually, especially I'd imagine during the summer.
Yeah.
They have a big lake. They had a restaurant inside.
Tumbleweeds. Paul was kicking around some tumbleweeds.
Yeah. I like cowboy stuff, and so anytime, like cowboy western stories, movies, just the whole thing, the isolation, I like it all. And so that means when I see a tumbleweed, I think of cowboys, and I go, I like tumbleweeds.
And he doesn't just go, I like tumbleweeds. He kicks them around and throws them like a ball, because I'm sure that's what cowboys did in the past.
Yeah. As far as towns that are nearby, in case you're looking, you have Angostura, 15 minutes, Hot Spring, 15 minutes, Wind Cave. Hot Springs is right between Angostura and Wind Caves, and so that town is good for a lot of touristy sort of things, but it's also good for groceries or water, kind of that sort of deal. And then if you need like Walmart's, like full-on grocery stores, at Rapid City is about an hour away, so you can go out of your way for that, or stop on the way in is what we did to get our provisions.
Walmart alone is an activity.
Walmart was crazy.
They're like really busy ones.
Oh, it was so mad. They were everywhere, and I don't know.
They were whose they were.
The people of South Dakota. And the people of South Dakota overall were very nice, but man, at least from our experience, the few stops we made, they are slow shoppers. So South Dakota, speed it up.
Maybe they're just enjoying life. Everyone needs to be have a little South Dakota.
Yeah, you know, you don't need to stand in front of the beef jerky for 15 minutes in order to enjoy life. Just grab your jerky, man. Yeah, but Hot Springs. Hot Springs was under construction while we were there, so we didn't get to fully enjoy it, but you thought that there was a lot of cool stuff there, right?
Yeah, we saw a car accident.
A really cool post office, a Family Dollar.
No, Hot Springs is a really cool, historical, cute little town. They have lots of antique shops, coffee, restaurants, really cool post office that makes you feel like you're going into...
It's a wonderful life.
It's a wonderful life. It is.
It is. Unless you're that guy in front of the post office who backed into a lady.
Yeah.
A lady's car. We wouldn't be making as much light out
No,
of it.
it was
if
just
it
like
into
a little...
lady.
It was just a little fender bender.
Yeah.
No one was hurt. Okay. We were just sitting there, and all of a sudden this car was like moving closer to us, and we're like, what? It's like, oh, they got hit. Glad everyone's okay. The other thing that Hot Springs have is the Mammoth Site. So if you want to see where a bunch of mammoths tried to drink water, missed the mark, fell in a hole, and died, you could go there.
In that situation, there was death.
They drank a whole lot of water.
A whole lot of water and sand, and it is still an archaeological site to this day. So if you want to see an active archaeological site, that's pretty cool. And a lot of their findings, there's a museum. It is all really cool, and I can say that having looked at the pictures, because we didn't go.
So if you're not going to Wind Cave and you're interested, just look up on Google right now, Mammoth Site, Hot Springs, South Dakota.
Our trip is an accelerated one. Our goal is to see the national parks. So as we experience them, we will keep an eye out of like, hey, you should go here, you should go here if you're planning a full-on family vacation or a longer trip than we are. That's why we mentioned the Mammoth Site. We weren't able to see it. If we went back, like with our family, someday when we procreate,
Okay.
if we go back with our family, then that would totally be like top list something to do because it looked really cool.
Yeah.
And we're not even getting paid by them to say that.
No, this is free stuff, guys.
Yeah. Some other cool sites around. There's Jewel Cave. It's called Jewel Cave because it looks like jewels on the inside.
Definitely go see that. We did not see that because our main focus was Wind Cave. So obviously Wind Cave is the major feature of Wind Cave National Park.
The prime attraction.
Prime attraction. It is the cave. Is the it. Is 164 miles in length, and they think they have only found 10%.
They are still exploring it to this day. Before we arrived, the tour guide, our tour guide, told us that just the week prior, she was giving tours and having to say that it was 163.2 miles or something. And so just in that week, they had found another about a mile.
It was actually one of the rangers.
Looking up stuff, and they had information about the caves just from 2019. So however many, 4 or 5 years ago, what's the year? 23?
4 years ago.
4 years ago? I didn't even know what year it was, let alone the math to figure out when 2019 was. They said that it was 150 miles. So they have found 14 miles. See, I can do math. I just don't know what year it is.
I'm not worried. I'm not sweating.
I am. In 14 years, in 4 years, they found 14 miles.
Now I'm sweating.
Woo! Woo! And so they offer a variety of cave tours that you can go see the cave. Everything from like 30 minutes up to several hours. 4 hours, yeah. The one we did was Fairground, which was a solid tour. It was 2 hours long. Something you need to keep in mind: they marked it as moderately strenuous. The strain level of these tours is obviously like for a tour, not for people who hike. If this was a hike, it would be marked as easy, but they are grading this difficulty according to families. And we had families on our tour, like 7-year-olds and maybe even younger. I mean, I don't know if the kid was actually 7. He could have been 8. Just kind of maybe a smaller 8-year-old.
He seemed like one that would think that the halves were a big deal.
The Fairgrounds tour, they actually shut off all the lights of the cave, which was crazy. We both decided it'd be really funny if someone had like a night vision camera or something, because everybody, as soon as they turn the lights off, you're going like this because you can't see your hand in front of your face. So if you just had a video of all these people sitting
Like
on a
doing
bench,
this.
going like this, like.
I know for sure I was doing this. I know it.
This would be a really funny video.
You probably do that. And all the rangers are laughing at us.
And then they lit a candle to show what it was like, and so that would be really dark. It would be creepy in a good way. You know, like I cannot see very far right now, but I mean, I don't know. It'd just be
Like
a
you
cool
don't know what's
experience.
coming around the corner. Like, ooh.
Which there aren't any wildlife in the cave, except like right at the entrance. They said
Like bats and stuff.
there are some bats and sometimes some other animals,
But just
for shelter. Unfortunately, they said that they found some little prairie dog bones.
No, wait, what?
Yeah, they found
didn't
some
tell me
little
that.
She did.
I was listening.
You were too busy going like this.
Probably.
It was when she. That is when she
Oh,
answered.
Probably was too busy.
Someone asked that question. I don't know why they waited till the lights were off. Start
We
talking about
saw
skeletons. Yeah, it was a cool little tour. It's one of the few that they offer this time of year, but they have a lot of cool other ones that we won't go into too much detail. We will say two of them more exciting. Do you want to just explain the first one?
Candlelight Tour.
We wrote it down.
Only available in the summer. It is 2 hours long, and they say it is strenuous. Doubt it. This tour, they say, takes place in the less developed, unlit section of the cave where you explore the cave just by candlelight, like how they used to do when they were first exploring the cave. That would be a fun one to do.
Yep.
I'll take you back in time.
Other cool is called the Wild Cave Tour, which is wild.
And it sounds
You have to pass a
crazy.
little test. They have a box in the visitor center that's 10 by 36 inches. And you have to crawl through it. So there are sections on that tour where you are crawling through spaces that small.
For 4 hours.
Yeah.
And you can only be 17 or older.
Or older, yeah.
Or older, yeah. Only 17? Prime time?
18-year-olds, you're done. 17 and a half? Nope.
If you're 17 years or younger, you need parental or guardian release to go on this wild, crazy adventure.
Which we were talking about. If that tour would have been available, would you have wanted to go?
Absolutely.
You would have.
Yeah.
When we were there, you were a little more hesitant about it.
There's
Maybe
no
you were
hesitation.
just kind of like emotionally grasping with it. Now that you know, you know.
I feel like I always knew. Deep down.
Oh, okay.
Maybe this didn't know.
You just knew that I was claustrophobic and didn't
I
want
was
to
feeling
make me feel
compassion.
badly about
Yes.
myself. Yeah, because I'd be a little more iffy about it just because I hate to be restrained. I have this tragic moment in my life history where my siblings rolled me up in a staticky blanket, wouldn't unroll. And so I was like really tight in this blanket and trying to unroll myself. And if you can imagine this image of a toddler rolled up in a blanket, screaming, rolling across the floor, I imagine it looked pretty funny. And so then I felt completely helpless. And they were laughing. And I love my siblings. This isn't anything against them. It was just one little thing that led to trauma in my life. I actually would. It would be worth it. We're going to move on from the Wild Cave Tour. Then the next thing that they said is that you can still be a cave explorer to this day. It's still being explored, so there needs to be explorers. So it is a volunteer job. In fact, you actually have to pay to do it. Just $14 to be a part of Cave Tour Club, and then they kind of provide your equipment and stuff. But then you are able to explore the cave. And Jewel Cave that we were talking about earlier, they say actually connects to Wind Cave, but they just haven't found the route yet. They believe that it does, that it connects. And so that would be pretty cool to be a cave explorer.
And I think you have to do it with a group of 3 or more.
Mm-hmm.
So grab your friends, get a helmet,
Sign
and
up.
go explore.
Don't just like
caves.
break in and go. Like there's like clubs and everything. You have to
There's
have
regulations.
permission and
Don't
regulations.
go crazy.
Yeah. It would be so cool to be an explorer. Go out, create your own path, and man. Other than the cave, there is actually some pretty cool hikes. Don't let the hyper focus on the cave deter you from the outside of the cave activities.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that we did was called Wind Cave Canyon. This one was our least favorite, though.
Lame.
The main problem was that you never really got away from man-made things. You were hiking on a dirt road, passing through a fence, power lines, a shooting range, more power lines. Right as we passed through some trees, and you can usually tell on a trail, like, okay, this is going like deeper into the canyon. It doesn't look like there's any man-made anything. Right when we got to that point, just a mile left on our trail, there was a bison right on center of the trail. Apparently bison just do not want us to finish our trails.
They don't.
And that is
Keep
foreshadowing.
posted for next video.
That's foreshadowing. So that's why it was lame.
And it's lame for us because we like longer hikes. It's just us. We don't have kids. We don't have anyone else besides us hiking. But if you had a larger group with a wide age range, or if you had a stroller, this would definitely be ideal because you still do see some cool sandstone formations.
Yeah, the red rock was really cool.
And lots of birds and things like that. So it's not like if you went on this hike, you're going to be necessarily disappointed, but I think you need to go in understanding what the hike is.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, because I don't think we were prepared for what it was.
The next trail, though, exceeded our expectations. The Sanctuary Trail, an 8-mile long hike that actually takes you to the Centennial Trail, which, if you don't know, Centennial Trail is like hundreds, if not, it's between 100 and 200 mile hike that like works its way through the Dakotas. And Sanctuary Trail actually hikes along that, and then you go back. But that had a lot of really cool features to it.
Yeah. So we saw 2 prairie dog towns. They're so cute. The first one was kind of in the distance. You can hear them running and doing whatever they're doing. Second prairie dog town, they're like right on the trail.
Bad real estate. Location.
Just make sure you watch where your foot is going. And at the end, we did see
what was left of a homestead.
Yeah. Very eerie. The rest of our hike, we talked about death, sadness.
I mean, when you talk about death, a huge part of death is life. And so then you're talking about the bigger things of life, dreams.
Right. It got crazy. Anyhow, if you want to talk about death and stuff, then go on this hike. It will bring it up. Because when you get to this homestead, you just see the foundation and the rocks where the homestead was built. There's all these rusty tools just hanging out everywhere, and then there's a watering hole where they used to their animals to drink. So it just felt really eerie, kind of sad. And the other thing is that there's no history on this homestead. We tried to look it up. We read all the signs, and there was nothing about the family that lived here on this homestead. So it almost just felt like they built it. They were having this life that they wanted, and then it was over. It was a great hike.
You hike through the prairie and then up through Black Hills. The hills that you went through were truly hills. And so you kind of went through these 2 hills into kind of a canyon area tucked between the Black Hills, and that's where the homestead was. So it was cool because you got to see prairie, you got to go through the prairie dog towns, you got to go through the Black Hills, and there were some rockier features too, I suppose. And then you got to see this homestead. Yeah. So,
and then with the sunset and the prairie, if you can catch a sunset overlooking the prairie, it is so cool. It changes all the colors of the prairie. It's just really pretty.
Yeah, especially this time of year. It was cool learning after the fact. We were hiking, and this time of year, all of the prairie is pretty much gold. And so then you had that gold contrasting with the Black Hills dark ponderosa pine. And then, like Laura said, a lot of the other colors working their way in, but it was really this contrast of colors, and we both commented on it, loved it. We were trying to take pictures. There's even a bison in the distance, but it was this contrast of colors. And then I looked up after the fact, and that apparently is the whole reason they're called the Black Hills, was this time of year, that contrast of the prairie with the ponderosa pine. The Lakota people who lived here long before any colonizers did saw that, and they used the Pahasapa. It means the hills that are black, and then from there it was translated, and that's why it's called the Black Hills. So it was cool on this hike being able to see exactly why it got its title. But that was a great 8 miles. Saw some antlers on the ground, of course tracks. There was a place where the bark of the tree had been ripped off from some type of deer or something trying to shed its antlers. Birds. So anytime you see a lot of that wild existence, any signs of wild existence when you're on a hike, whether it's the wildlife itself or just a track, it makes it more worthwhile. So that was a fun hike.
Yeah. And then our last hike was the Rankin Ridge Interpretive Trail. This one was 1 mile, and it was really cool. You went through the ponderosa pine. It just snowed when we got there, or the night before. Yeah. So there was a thick layer of snow, and it was really cool with the ponderosa pine. It was really, really pretty.
Yeah,
And lots of birds.
It was melting. Yeah, it was melting off, and so you were getting drips and then huge pieces of snow falling every once in a while. And
the ending point of the trail is an overlook.
Yeah.
And you see the Buffalo Gap in the distance, and also the Badlands National Park in the distance. And they say you can only see that on a clear day, which for us it was a clear day, so we were able to see that.
And you were actually overlooking kind of the canyon area from the Sanctuary Trail where the homesteaders established. There's actually a tower on top of it too that you can climb up. In a lot of ways, it was our favorite hike. In a lot of ways, it was just very refreshing with the snow, but then the sun being out, so it was like warm, but then still kind of that fresh snow coolness. She even took off her coat.
I know. I needed that.
And on the way out,
sun kiss on my shoulders.
On the way out, we got a fan favorite interaction with prairie dogs.
Fan favorite. Just snowed, like we said, and so all these little prairie dogs were out, and you could just see their little bodies against the vast whiteness, and you could just see their little paw prints going from house to house, so you could see that they like to visit each other, and they're very social.
They were pretty cute.
Yep, pretty cute.
Which hike was your favorite from that?
Sanctuary, hands down.
Sanctuary was your favorite. Okay.
I think it was just, I mean, it's longer, so there's more to see. I think seeing a homestead at the end was really cool. Like, that's something you don't really get with other hikes ever.
Sure. Yeah, that did make it unique. Yeah, if I was only doing one hike, if I had to only do one hike, I would do Sanctuary because it showed everything that Wind Cave kind of has to offer. But my favorite was Rankin Ridge. It was just refreshing, and it was good to be in the sun again because at that point we had gone through a few blizzards and everything, and so it was just nice being outside again. It was refreshing and some exercise. And from there, we worked our way into the Black Hills. So CUSTER State Park, even though we didn't camp there, we did drive through. And just so you don't make the same silly mistake that we made, we said at the beginning, we try to not research too much because we want to experience it for ourselves. Well, this was a time when it a little bit backfired. Driving through CUSTER State Park was cool, but we were going to the visitor center. And when we got to the visitor center, we were like, so where is the CUSTER battlefield? And
he's like, oh, that's in Montana. You're a few hours away. We're like, oh, we'll get that the back half of our trip. Maybe not this time.
Yeah, CUSTER State Park is not where the battlefield took place.
No.
We thought that because my family growing up went to South Dakota, and a part of our South Dakota tour, we went to the battlefield. So we must have made our way up to Montana without me realizing it. But when we were going to South Dakota and I saw CUSTER State Park, I was like, oh, yeah, we'll have to see the battlefield, that historical marker. Wow. It's a few hours away. So maybe when we work our way all the way around and go to Montana, maybe we can go to the battlefield and be like, we made it 3 years later.
Call the ranger.
Yeah. CUSTER State Park looks like a really cool park because that is fully in the Black Hills. It's more rocky. There
Talk
were
about
lakes
places
in
to
there.
stay.
Yeah.
There were so many campgrounds in there, cabins.
Yeah. So if you're going during the summer when it's actually open and they have lakes and little towns in there and stuff, so that really looked like a cool place. So make sure you go there if you can, and then of course after going through CUSTER, we were like, well, it's only about 30 minutes more, so then you go to Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, so Mount Rushmore, you can see it when you're driving by, but obviously it is a national monument, so we recommend that you actually stop by and see it. It is $10 for parking, and then you go through all these flags, and then Mount Rushmore.
Unless you are the lady who we have been, honestly, we've been mercilessly judging her.
Oh, so hard. So hard.
She goes to this national monument, they pay the entrance fee, and then, you can finish it.
Like, her whole family is going up to where you can actually see Mount Rushmore. And she's at the, kind of the entrance, like, before you go where the flags are. She's like, no, I don't think I want to walk the rest of the way. I'm good, honey.
It's too windy.
It's too windy. Me and Paul just looked at each other like...
It's like, what are you doing?
Like...
It's the distance, like, you can see Mount Rushmore from the road, and it's, like, up over there. And so then where she was, it was maybe, like, you know,
Like,
up
why
there.
pay the $10?
Like, just walk the distance and you're there. Like, you're looking up at
Here.
this incredible rock.
Not here.
You know, like,
Here.
you're not even seen at that point. And, you know, then of course, like, you make this harsh judgment, like, what are you doing? And then you're like, well, maybe she, like, has some health problems. She obviously was, like,
No. Active.
late 30s, yeah. I mean, she was
Even
she
her
was
husband
walking
was
around.
like, really? Are you sure?
Yeah, she was just choosing it because she didn't want to go through the wind.
So we have been really, really judging her. I'm not going to lie. Walk 30 steps.
It probably irritates us more than it should, but it's a great loop around to the beginning. Experience. Go experience it. Walk the full distance.
The full distance.
The full distance.
If you're halfway there, just make it the rest.
Yeah.
Even more than halfway.
Uh-huh. Okay, so just a quick summary here. I'm deciding right here on the spot. This is a great. I'm brilliant right now.
Okay, I like this energy.
If you just want the quick facts, here they are. So if you're planning a vacation, here it is. There are great hikes in Wind Cave. The main feature of Wind Cave is the cave itself. Go on a cave tour. They have plenty of options ranging from 30 minutes to 4 hours crawling on your stomach. Everything in between. So make sure you see the cave. If you want to continue your cave experience, there's also Jewel Cave, which they believe is connected, but it offers rock formations that Wind Cave doesn't. It's called Jewel Cave for a reason. So there's Jewel Cave as well. Nearby the national park, there is Hot Springs, which is a historical town. Make sure you go there. It's a fun tourist stop. They have coffee shops, restaurants.
Mammoth Site.
For that awesome archaeological experience. Mount Rushmore to the north, about an hour away, so make sure you see that national monument when it's so close. And then you have 2 state parks nearby that also offer a ton of fun. CUSTER, you are tucked up in the Black Hills, and so there's tons of hikes, lakes in there. Then 30 minutes to the south, there's Angostura State Park, which has a huge lake if you're into fishing or boating, beaching, swimming, and then they even have a restaurant there, so it seems like a playground if you have kids. So all in all, you could spend a good week to 2 weeks in and around Wind Cave National Park.
Easy.
It is an underestimated national park.
It definitely exceeded both of our expectations, Wind Cave, because it's not a very highly trafficked national park. Honestly, there's kind of bad stigma around it, I feel like. Every time I've researched it, people are like, yeah, it's alright, go to it if you can. If you can't, it's not that big of a deal. But I feel like it beat our expectations. I thought it was super fun. I would think this would be prime for people that have really young kids up to like 9.
Yeah. Because
you are for sure going to see wildlife, and there's just so much variety that would be so easy with kids to do.
Yeah, a lot of tours, and a lot of the hikes are a little bit more on the flat side, but still really cool.
Yeah. So definitely check out Wind Cave. Please let us know if we missed anything about Wind Cave or the Black Hills.
I'm sure we did.
So if there's anything that we missed, put it in the comments. Let us know so that other people who are planning their trip can also know some of the cool stuff in the area. And as always, like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so that you know when we are putting out new videos. Let us know if you like this format, if you feel like this is inspiring you, if it's making you want to go and visit the national park, so that we can keep bringing this format to you guys so that you yourself can experience the magic when you go. Thanks for watching.
If you would like to join us on our journey as we travel across the country from national park to national park, please like and subscribe. Thanks again.